I feel my voice is a little low today, groggy. I got to bed so unbelievably late. I woke up at 5:41. Then I went back to sleep, and I think you're all the first people I'm talking to. So I don't even know how I sound till I start talking. I guess that's true for all of us. Again, welcome to Prayer on the Air, especially anyone new, just to give you a sense of, well, what is prayer on the air? Who is prayer on the air? Well, you are, I am. We are a collection of humans from across 52 different countries, and we come together to really investigate and participate in letting the power of prayer have its way with us, letting the power of prayer, for me, it's ultimately emancipate us. And I think at one time I would have said emancipate us from fear, doubt, worry, um, and to bring us to love, peace, joy, happiness. Now I feel like the emancipation is even deeper, like the despair, the hatred, the greed, the disgust, all those ego feelings or thoughts that we move through. Um, Now I feel something like to love the disgust, to love the hatred, to love whatever the disturbance is. I think early in my career it was like we were going to get out of that and get into this. Now everything feels like it's through. You go through it. You go through whatever is, you go through it and receive the blessings along the way. What is the gift of whatever, disturbance you're experiencing? What is the gift? What is it trying to bring you? And then the idea, and this is something I've been studying for about 30 years. I'm wondering about you, but just this really came up for me this morning as I was waking myself up. This idea that it's really all energy. It's all only energy. Like fear is only energy. It's only energy. It's only energy. Disgust, hatred, greed, it's only energy. We make such negative stories about these things, and they're only sensations in the body, really. We have a story about these sensations. I've had such a week in my internal life because there are, I may have mentioned this last week, but there are some boxes in my house from that aren't put away, and they're like stacked up, and we talked about this last week. I have boxes in my house, Jennifer has boxes in her house, and I realized I could say something to my daughter like, would you get to those, do those, do those. And I decided I was out eating dinner with a friend for her birthday, an amazing friend of mine. Her name is Camille. And I was discussing this with Camille, and she says, what about for 2 weeks you just say nothing? 2 weeks you say nothing. And I literally thought, I can't go 2 weeks. I said, a week. I'll do a week. So then I get home and I'm vowing to like say nothing. And it is so hard. And meanwhile, I want you to know my daughter has boxes, but I have crap everywhere. Like, it's not like if I really want to clean up, it's not that I don't have enough to do myself, right? So, I'm just so aware how I'm in someone else's business when I have my own business. I've plenty of, if you all saw my bookshelf, well, not my bookshelf is neat, but I have this sort of utility cabinet over here. I have an inbox, papers flailing out of it. Like, if I'm a neatnik, why not do that? It's not that I'm a neatnik. So it's like, what is my obsession with her stuff? you know? So I do this for like 6 hours the next day. I don't know now how I'm going to make it a week. I talked to my husband about it. He goes, "Why don't you just try 3 days? Just try 3 days." Like I'm having to reduce my challenge. It was so difficult for me to be with the compulsion. I'm compelled to avoid my own self. Like, why I'm compelled to avoid. Like, I have this one creative project I would love to work on, but it's like, well, if I'm, busy with someone else's business and their boxes, I'll never do my thing. It's like, I've never been like a meth addict, but I've seen many meth addicts. In the college town where my daughter went, there's a very vocal community of unhoused people. There's a tremendous population of meth addicts there, and they're always sort of scratching. There's a lot of scratching. And I wasn't physically itching or scratching, but I felt like something was like I was getting something was coming up to the surface. My agitation, my irritability. It was so difficult to be with myself in it. Finally, within the 3 days that I did fail at, I didn't say nothing for 3 days. Little came out. Like I failed, but I at least got to witness it. And I finally got to the point where it's like I'm just looking at one of these boxes. And it's like, I would give this box in this place the power to disturb my peace of mind. Like, why? Right? Like, it's not attacking me. It's not doing anything to me. Like, what do we allow disturb our peace of mind? One of my favorite teachings in the Course in Miracles is in their 365 days of lessons. One lesson is just, I let peace of mind be my only goal today. I let peace of mind be my only goal today. I let peace of mind be my only goal today. I've had so many amazing days where I really let that be my mantra. And so I just feel so humbled, that how willing, like it seemed like I had no agency. You see what I'm saying? So how can this happen to me? All these years praying, spiritual practice, all these things. It's like, for me, my experience of it, and I'm speaking very personally here, I've been doing this work of seeing through the ego. It's called the fetter work. It's fetters. In Buddhism, there's 10 fetters. And each fetter is an assumption that you don't question. And without questioning that assumption, ego is formed, right? So there's 10 things we assume in order to form our ego early on by age 3. And it's not that we shouldn't form an ego. It's a necessary part of our process. But the fetter work is you see through each one of these assumptions. And the last fetter is ignorance. It's a fascinating, and it's basically what do you have to ignore? What do you have to ignore in order to live egoically, meaning in a divided mind, meaning boxes there, bad, boxes gone, good, boxes there, no peace, boxes gone, peace. What do you have to ignore? What do I have to ignore to choose war over peace? And what I have to ignore, and it is important if you ever do fetter work to do them in order, but for this purpose I think I can speak about the 10th fetter. Really what you're ignoring is, and it's so deep, it may or may not make sense as I say it, but what we have to ignore is that we're okay no matter what. That's what we have to ignore in order to form ego. And I just feel like once I have seen through all 10 fetters in my work, and they say, my guide says, after you see through all 10 fetters, now the only thing happening is trauma unwinding. Like I sit here before you as just unwinding trauma, unwinding trauma, praying. So, you know, I had a lot of trauma growing up about the house and cleaning and my mother and all these things. So I think of this week now as like coagulated energy at such a place of like I was noticing it, noticing it, noticing it. You know, it's so rich, the inner life. You know, it was a rough journey, but I do feel like I've been somewhere. You know, like I am different this week than last week. Like, you know, I've never been to Machu Picchu. It's somewhere I'd want to go, but I just imagine, you know, being on some narrow path and having to be careful where I step my foot and will I fall off the side of the mountain. That's how I feel this week. Like it's been a treacherous journey. And just think, I'm sharing mine, but you've had your own. Now, hopefully, maybe yours has been very joyous. Uh, uh, Maybe yours have been, you know, just absolutely joyous. And I hope that for you. And whatever it is, these journeys we have within are rich. I mean, we can go anywhere and everywhere in consciousness, no matter what our mobility physically. Like we are that vastness of mystery. And you know, we all have a name that we go by. I go by Angela, Angie. You know, you go by your name. And yet that name, your name, is just a label. You are a portal of vastness. And in the truth, you're not even a portal. You are that vastness. You know, we think we're so localized. You know, I'm in LA, you're in Connecticut, you're in Spain. But that just is the appearance, right? Where we appear to be based on the physical body, time, space continuum. But who knows? Are we more localized where our body is? Or maybe we're loving someone who's 3,000 miles away, and maybe more of our attention and energy is in that loving than where our physical body is. So we all have this incredible capacity to travel, no matter what we may think of are the restrictions of our life.